So let's talk about applied philosophy and daily wisdom. The whole point of this theme is to understand that applied philosophy is far more superior than written philosophy or intellectualization. And that's what a lot of times people focus on, is they get caught up in reading and listening, but they don't apply it in their own life. Of course, it's important to listen and read into philosophical works, but your journey doesn't stop there. There's more progress to be done, okay? So there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is accumulating information in your mind so that you can logically deduce something. It involves mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology. These are all occupational sciences that allow you to understand the world and apply it to solve a problem, okay? Wisdom is far more different. I wouldn't say superior, but it involves applying what you have learned to your daily life, okay? It's very straightforward, it's very pragmatic, and it's very logical, but it doesn't involve solving problems necessarily. It just involves going through life in a meaningful manner, with purpose and with awareness. So there's two different types of wisdoms. There's implicit wisdom and there's explicit wisdom. Implicit wisdom it basically means that you are aware of the subtle lessons in life. For example, each and every encounter that you're in, with your family, with your friends, with a professor or a teacher, or any other event or an activity you're doing, whether that be hobbies or whether that be a professional activity, any sort of encounter that you have has a subtle lesson for you, okay? The reason why it has come into your life is because nature wants you to go through it and evolve as a human being. That is very important for you to recognize and not neglect your responsibility of learning from it rather than complaining, okay? You just have to have that introspective awareness and that reflective ability so that you can grasp that meaning and then use it in your own life. It's that simple. How do you do this? Well, one of the best ways to improve your implicit philosophical learning is through meditation. Meditation just strengthens your ability to grasp these subtle lessons in life and respond in a more practical, pragmatic way. You become implicitly and spontaneously wise rather than trying to put effort in. Okay, so that's implicit wisdom. Explicit wisdom refers to gaining philosophical understanding of life based on what other philosophers have talked about or have written in the past. And the reality is, you think you're special, but you're not. The reality is that your life, as it is right now, has probably been lived by someone else in the past. You just are not aware of it. Someone has probably gone through same situations that you have gone through or are going through right now, and they learned lessons from it, and they want to teach you something, or they hope to teach others because they want to help others. And this has been documented through philosophical books, through readings, through teachings, and through stories. So, I would recommend to go into that philosophy. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Here's a comprehensive list of different types of philosophies that are out there in the world. You can choose what philosophy you want to go into, but the idea is you have to apply it in your own life. That is the key. Okay? So there are three ways of implementing explicit wisdom. One is listening, one is reading, and the other one is having a conversation. The conversation piece is kind of like the Socratic seminar, the idea that you discuss these topics and you bounce ideas off of each other, and that helps you improve your understanding of a deep philosophical topic. You could just go out to your friend and be like, how's your day been? And that could lead into a philosophical conversation on what is the meaning of life? Am I in line with my goals and purpose in my life? There's existential philosophy, there is transcendentalism. You can go into religion if you want, You can start with the religious philosophy if you already adhere to a religious path, or you can go to a secular philosophy that is beyond religion and talks about different types of aspects of life. For example, some philosophies will focus on the meaning of life, like existentialism. Some philosophies will talk about gaining truth, like epistemology. Some philosophies will talk about politics, like Aristotle and Plato talked about. Some philosophies will talk about transcendentalism, going beyond the physical world, like metaphysics. It just depends what you are interested in. But the idea is you should at least attempt to get into some sort of philosophy, okay? And how do you do this? Well, like I said, you start with listening, okay? Listening to what? Listening to YouTube videos. There's thousands of YouTube videos. There's thousands of podcasts. There's thousands of audiobooks. Where do you start? Well, I'm going to propose that you start with this podcast called Philosophize This. I'll kind of put it right here. It's very well done, and I really like the artist behind this podcast. He kind of goes through a comprehensive list of different Eastern and Western philosophies, and it's a pretty good series. There's pretty much all philosophers that you need on it. So there's also, two prominent figures, Alan Watts and Ram Dass, amazing philosophers who brought Eastern philosophy and put it into the context of Western philosophy, okay? So both of them, Alan Watts and Ram Dass, have their own podcasts. I would highly recommend looking into them. Of course, Stoicism, so A Daily Stoic is a very popular podcast you can go into. Stoicism is gaining a lot of popularity because a lot of people are anxious and depressed in today's world, thanks to capitalism, but you can start to develop some of these Stoic aspects of tranquility, peace of mind, and equanimity if you start listening to Stoicism podcasts. Then there's reading, okay? So as you listen to these podcasts, as you think about these deep topics and introspect them, you start to gain, there's an ignition of passion for philosophy. There's this strong drive to really get into the nitty-gritty aspects of it. And that's where reading comes in. Listening, if listening is the lock on the door which you can open, then reading is actually walking into the room, okay? So where do you start? There's thousands of books, right? Well, I would recommend the book A Calendar of Wisdom by Leo Tolstoy. Amazing book, and the reason why it's so great is because it gives you a day-to-day reflection theme. Basically what that means, I'll kind of put a page for today. So for example, today is March 21st. Each day they give you a page of quotes. So it's a set of quotes that allow Tolstoy, the artist, or not the artist, the author of this book, to reflect on his own life. And he does an amazing job of compiling quotes from different philosophers, both religious philosophers as well as secular philosophers. And this is amazing because for a person living in today's world who has no idea about philosophy, another great book is The Zen Master Collection by Kai Sukimi. This book blew my mind because I think it's like no other book, because it's a collection of short stories, which is important because you don't want to just be abstract and read, Hegel and Aristotle and Schopenhauer, all these amazing philosophers. They have a lot of great things to say, but their works are very abstract. Nietzsche, for example, is very abstract as well. Kai Sukimi, amazing, great master, and he writes with such elegance and beauty. Oh my God, I love it. But he gives short stories. They're like 2 pages. I mean, it's a very short story. Each, you can read one for every day. There's like 90 stories out there. But what I like about the stories is these stories are like a sword. It's like a sharp cut. Like wisdom is a sharp cut of delusion, and then slowly sheathing the sword back into the saya. Saya is a Japanese term for like the sheath the sword goes into. It's kind of like that. He gives this quick story, and then he slowly brings you back to your own reality. I love it. That book is amazing. And at the end of each story, he gives you what we call a koan, which is basically like a puzzle that allows you to reflect on your own life and question some of the beliefs that you have, the autonomic habits that you have. So I would highly recommend that book. The third one I would say is the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is the pinnacle, the absolute pinnacle of all philosophies. I mean, the yin and yang, everyone talks about it, light and dark, good and bad. You know, if you read the Tao Te Ching, you do not need anything else. The Tao Te Ching is the ultimatum of all philosophies. So if you want to get into something a little bit more advanced, that's where I would go. Okay? So these are like explicit ways of gaining knowledge, right? And then I went back and told you implicit way is the meditation aspect. So I would highly recommend taking some time out of your day to just meditate, to sit down and to just take some deep breaths and to focus on the mind. Put the mind on the mind so that the mind disappears on itself. What that basically means is that you let your mind absorb the encounters and the activities you have gone through in your life and slowly let it dissolve on its own. Kind of like mist in the clouds. You know, if you've ever driven in fog, you can see if everything is foggy, but by the evening or by the next day, it clears out. It's a very gradual process. There's no effort, there's no forcefulness. Just like that in meditation, you're not forcing yourself to gain anything. You're sitting there, and that's it. And then slowly the mind learns wisdom on its own. It's kind of like it kind of defogs your mind. It allows you to be present, and it not only removes stress, but it increases your ability to concentrate, which is the most fundamental aspect in philosophy, is this ability to concentrate in the present moment. Okay? So, you know, have some time for devoted meditation practice. And ultimately, you want to have constant reminders, whether that be through wallpapers or posters, for example, in your room. I have some posters right here on the Bodhisattvas, and then a comprehensive history of Buddhism, some koans to remind me of the impermanent and non-dualistic nature of reality, and then some practices to be present. So have some posters that allow you to remind yourself of your philosophical nature. And then you can also have widgets. For example, I have a daily quote widget. It's by Insight Timer. If you download the app Insight Timer, you can add a widget on your phone or on your iPad, and there you go. You have a clear visual representation of a philosophy at hand. So that's perfect. So anything that allows you to remind yourself of your philosophical nature, it's golden. Okay. So ultimately, the summary is, you know, there's difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is the accumulation of information. Wisdom is the application of it. Wisdom comes in three ways: listening, reading, and having dialogues about it. And wisdom is also explicit and implicit. Implicit is the one where you meditate and you learn from each and every encounter in your life, whether that be through people or events. And in the explicit ones is where you actually sit down and read or listen, and I highly recommend a couple books and podcasts if you want to go into. Ultimately, you want to have constant reminders. Each and every moment has an opportunity for you to learn something new, and I highly recommend you to tap into that nature and learn that process of introspectively being aware of what's going on in your mind and learning from nature in each and every moment.